Chiefs need to move on, get this taste out of their mouth, and get ready for the San Francisco 49ers. That's what it's about today. What can we take away from this Bills game that is really the battle of the Titans in the AFC? Take the positives, throw out the rest, and get after it today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. It is the day after. Things will look a little bit different on further review. We're going to talk about what the differences are, what's coming, and how they move on towards this next opponent who also has had some struggles. Going to get to that today. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, RGR Football, NFL 33. Thanks for making us your first listen. We are free on every platform. Check the rest of them out and maybe check out the draft show or one of the other shows on Locked On.
Yeah, you were just everywhere, aren't you, sir? And I'm Chris Clark. Thank you all for listening. We do appreciate it. And there is a lot to talk about getting ready for this 49ers team that they will be headed to on Sunday. Another afternoon game. It's a little bit strange for Kansas City to have so many afternoon games, but it is what it is. And we will see how this team is going to fare. I want to start by looking at what are the big takeaways from this past game, because to me, the biggest thing that I'm taking away is Kansas City was missing a lot more players than Buffalo. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just being honest. They're missing a lot more players than Buffalo was. And the amount of youth that they played in this game is going to carry forward and help them later in the season.
Yeah, I think so. This is kind of like an early look, foundational. This is, I don't want to be condescending, but this was, hey, you just took the training wheels off kind of game for a lot of this rookie class. Some significant snap counts. Yeah, I mean, literally for him. And he played, let me run this down. 55 snaps for Josh Williams. 41 for George Karlaftis. Let's see, who else in the rookie class? Jalen Watson, 72 snaps. That's crazy. So you've got, 140-some snaps in the rookie class just on defense. Oh, Leo threw in another 20. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and no Brian Cook this week.
Right. And I do think that had an effect. We'll talk about that in particular later in the show. But that's a ton of snaps just on defense when you're trying to stop. Well, let's be real, the best offense in the league this year. It isn't the Chiefs. It is the Bills. It has been the Bills. Chiefs have been right about number 3. That's great. But to have all those rookie snaps on a game that you're playing Josh and the Bills, that is a tall order. And that's why I think on second review, taking a look at all this, when you add all of that up, again, not trying to be condescending, but this is a first game out literally for Josh Williams and a first game out at this level of competition for the whole rookie class. And that's a lot to do on one side of the ball. I actually feel better about the result today than I did yesterday because all those guys are going to be sharpened and better for it tomorrow and next week and by the time they see the Bills again.
And since you have the snap counts up, how many did Sky Moore get?
Let me flip over to the offense and I will tell you that. What's your guess?
20.
Let's see. Pretty good. You cheated and looked at it beforehand, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Because he was in on 14 pass plays and 6 run plays. So,
okay.
Well done, sir.
20 snaps for Sky Moore. And I will say, I said this yesterday. I thought he played well at times. Obviously, he's going to have some growing pains as well. What really I'm taking away from this game, though, is, like I said, you had a lot of youth. And by the way, happy birthday, Joshua Williams. I know a lot of people do not like how he played yesterday. He's a rookie. That's all I got to say. And secondly, I do want to say this. Gabe Davis had more pass interference, offensive pass interference than Travis Kelce did. Just going to throw that out there.
I can get behind that. That's all right. I mean, and it's funny because it's not the same when you're in your second year because you've made a lot of progress. But just think about this as well. Creed and Trey both started. Trey's dealing with a recovering ankle issue. Orlando's got a knee thing going on. Not enough to keep those guys out of the game, but enough to limit what they're able to do on a given play. Joe Thuney rolls an ankle during the ball game.
And Trey's also dealing with a pectoral injury.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton going on that just the fact that you were able to get the O-line out there in the shape that it was, I think was an accomplishment. Now, Wiley didn't have the greatest day. That's true. But it also wasn't a total disaster on his part as well. Mitch Schwartz even backed up my opinion the other night or last night, on the fact that last play, You know, he actually took Vaughn inside, dealt with him, and got him out of the rush enough so that Patrick could deliver the ball. It wasn't on, in my opinion, Andrew Wiley on that last big play.
Yeah. And I think that you have to take what you're getting from Andrew Wiley and figure that that's a position Kansas City is going to have to probably look at addressing in the draft. And that's if they don't decide that they need to address that other tackle position in the draft, because that's going to be a big question mark the rest of the season is how is that left tackle going to play? How is the right tackle going to play? You know what they have in the middle. And I'm just thankful Joe Thuney was able to actually gut it out, because he made me really nervous watching him get up very slowly.
Yeah, I mean, and he had to play a snap streak to guard, so kudos to him. But yeah, I was a bit concerned about that myself. And I will
love
tell
Nick
you
Allegretti,
this,
but yeah, that's not a guy you want to lose.
Well, and I'm going to tell you this: there may be a plan in here that Orlando Brown isn't going to like. We'll talk about that, what this means going forward after we get back, and tell you about some of our new friends doing some cool stuff. I think everybody wants to have, like, you know, a combination sweats that you can go out in, you know, khakis that you can be comfortable in. It's a nice experience, right? And it's super new from our friends at Birddogs that they combine the two things. The material's super, super cool. And like, it almost feels like khaki, but it's not. It's got a stretch to it. So it's this nice thing in between the fact that you have this soft feel to it that gives you the stretch and the comfort as though you're working out and you're in, you know, your favorite pair of sweats. And you also have like the look and the fabric that gives you a little bit better appearance. So, like, you know, if you're like me, I don't care about going to the store in sweats. I'm perfectly comfortable with that. But a lot of folks aren't. I have no one left to impress. My wife already digs me, so it's cool. But if you are in that kind of thing where you want to look a little dressier, but you still got to have that comfort, you need to go check them out. I think you will like them quite a bit. Go to birddogs.com and enter the promo code Locked On, and they'll throw in a free Birddogs rope hat right now. You can get shorts, you can get sweats, you can get joggers, you can get actual khakis. There's all kinds of stuff that you can check out over there. That's birddogs.com. The promo code's Locked On, and boom, get a free rope hat with your pair of Birddogs. It's the most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners that you can get. You will not take these things off, I promise you.
These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job in the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. Just remember, you're getting into the end of the year. You want to finish the year strong. You want to get ready for 2023 strong. Go check out LinkedIn Jobs. It's why small businesses rated LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
As everything else in life, terms and conditions do apply. My term, and you're not going to like this, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into the rundown that we did planning the show and change things up, because this got me off. Let's spend a segment, because there's a couple of circumstances here. You had a really good point about where they are. The health of Lucas Niang is certainly going to be a factor of the offensive tackle position. Then we have the performance that we've seen in the last few weeks, where it's going, where maybe it's not going. And then you have a future decision to make on Orlando Brown. Hear me out. The ship is on fire in Carolina. I'm just saying. Robbie Anderson got traded this morning after having a blow up on the sidelines yesterday. They're taking calls on CMC. Like, you can do some things that would necessitate making a trade. Do they want maybe to make a tackle move? I can't see it, but if Lucas Niang is coming back, you could see maybe moving somebody right now and trying to get a talent like Brian Burns. For those of you that are screaming in the mic in your headphones right now that you want CMC, I don't think that's happening, folks. I cannot see
no
that.
way.
But if you were able to move
Brian Burns is going to be hard.
Yeah, absolutely. For a franchise like the Panthers, maybe bookend tackles is what they want. Now, they made an investment in this last draft. So maybe Orlando's stuck in a situation where if that were to come down, maybe they have interest in him as a right tackle, and then maybe you get Niang to play. I don't know. If that doesn't happen, I can also see where this trade deadline passes. Maybe they get something done. Maybe they don't. They have to find some money somewhere. There's a conversion for Patrick that you could do, or you could move some cap space off of your current list. The other thing is, if this continues and this trend continues the way that it is, you can't sustain these two players at tackle next season. You have to have a plan. And unfortunately, that may include, if the Chiefs do choose to tag Orlando, telling him, we're going to tag you and you're going to play right. And that's the way it's going to be. And we're either going to go out in free agency or we're going to draft a left tackle. That could be where we're going. Do either of those things make sense to you? Do you think I'm nuts? And do you think there's any interest in going to Carolina for anybody?
We obviously know that you're nuts. Kansas City has $211,000 in cap space right now, so any move that they make is going to have to be necessitated by moving some money around. And I do not think that they can do anything with Patrick Mahomes at this point. I think that his roster bonus has already been set, so I don't think that they can move any money in that regard. So they're going to have to get creative and maybe do something like an extension with a guy like Chris Jones, who's in the last year of his deal next year. So that would have to be something you'd have to look at. I would love to go get a guy like Brian Burns. I think that would make a lot of sense. You put him next to a guy like George Karlaftis. You have both speed, you have power, and you're in a situation where Burns can learn under Frank Clark a little bit. And you can say what you want about how Frank Clark has played. I do think that he has had a role in where George Karlaftis is in his career so far. And I'm not saying Karlaftis has been great, but he's been better than I expected, at least this early on, because he is more of a power guy, and that's going to take some more time for him to get his moves down to be able to get after the quarterback like you'd like him to. That's really the problem with him. The problem you're going to run into is getting a guy like Brian Burns is going to cost you so much in draft capital. And can you do it? Yes. Is it going to be rough to do? Absolutely. And quite honestly, I don't know what you do at left tackle at this point. Orlando Brown, and I think it's a little unfair because Brown, I think, played okay at times yesterday. Mm-hmm. He showed some, ability to move around and just pancake guys, I think, on Juju's long touchdown. But
Ed,
he's also
Ed Oliver.
yeah, he's dealing with a knee injury, and that's going to limit him, especially considering, the type of people he's going against. But I also think that if you're Kansas City, you have to realize who your player is. And one, you cannot leave him on an island by himself, especially when he's partially injured. That just it doesn't make sense. You're asking for trouble there. And you're asking for Pat to get hit, and that is not at all what you want. So it's going to be something to watch. I'm not sure what they're going to do with tackle. And quite honestly, I'm glad that Wiley's here. I'm glad that he's able to play, and I think he's played pretty decent. I'm not going to say he's played great. But I don't know what you're going to do at right tackle next year because I don't have any faith in Niang coming back and being able to play well and stay healthy. That's the big thing. You can't. I don't think you can feel like you can go into next season and have him being your starting right tackle, and obviously not starting left tackle.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. Like what we thought was completely fixed is not. There's still a hole on this offensive line. It may necessitate a different kind of resolution to really address it. I agree with you on Karlaftis, and I want to give George a shout out because he isn't producing what you'd hope for. Like he's getting good push to the pocket, just like we knew he would. He did get 3 pressures yesterday, which was second only to Chris Jones. The problem is 3 pressures out of a first round draft pick and only 4 out of your all world defensive tackle. That's just not enough. It doesn't matter that it was Josh Allen; it just wasn't enough.
The bigger problem, though, is you're only getting pressure. You were also getting pressure only against their backup right tackle. It wasn't even their good right tackle. It was their backup right tackle for half the game. So, yeah, that's a problem. They're not getting home, and they have to blitz in order to get pressure, which is where Kansas City has been for years. So you have to wonder, how are they going to address that in the offseason? And really, I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but they only have $28 million in cap space in 2023. And that's only with 32 players under contract. So that's not a lot of money to go around, and they're going to need defensive ends. They probably need 2, to be quite honest. I like what Dana does, but he doesn't give you the pressure that you need.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they have anybody behind Karlaftis that can really provide that pressure. I don't think you want to go out and get an aging veteran again, like a Frank Clark or a Dunlap. You want to try to go younger if you can, but good luck hitting on one of those. And you need tackles.
Yeah.
You need the premium positions. That's the problem.
It is a heck of a conundrum. I will give you that. It is tough to see. But it's going to have to get done one way or the other. There's always the draft, folks. Remember when the time comes. You always have us at the draft show. That said, this is not like set the alarm. I thought George put out good effort yesterday. And I did. That was the bookend to what I was saying before. Like, yes, he's not necessarily the pressure that you want, but he showed a lot of hustle. Nearly made a play on the sideline, which is rare for him. So, like, good for him for making an evolution. Hopefully, he can continue that. There's more takeaways. And how do they move on towards the 49ers? That's going to come up next. But I got to tell you, as it stands right now, it doesn't look like the lines are going to move very much. Patrick Mahomes' line is 270 yards for next Sunday against those Niners. And all you got to do, if you want to play daily fantasy sports, the most fun way that I've found is go check out PrizePicks. It's a really simple concept. They set that line at 270.5. Do you think he's going to throw for more or for less? Super is simple. A or B. Pick it. Do that for 2 to 5 players, and you have a set, and you can earn up to 10 times your entry on that set. You're not competing with other people. You're not setting multiple lineups. It's just more or less and move on. You can do it for any sport, basically. Cricket, Euro basketball. I have yet to do that one. NASCAR, I'm all in on the pit crew times. That's kind of fun. Entries can be made 60 seconds or less, and they're super easy, safe, and fast. Currently, they're available in 30 states, plus Canada, our friends to the north. All you got to do is go get the app on any app store or go to prizepicks.com itself and play daily fantasy sports. That's it. First time deposit gives you 100% bonus. So you put in 100, you get 100 on them to use on the site with our promo code Locked On. That's really important. You get that bonus when you use our promo code Locked On for that extra bonus, 100% on what you put in at PrizePicks. Now, a couple of takeaways that I had from just seeing who played where, and that's, again, it comes back to, like, how are you putting that out? We talked about the rookies. I'm happy for what we see there in that it's not like it's not earth-shattering. On the offensive side, it's definitely more difficult to break in. So, like you said, we had 20 snaps from Sky, the only rookie playing on. I'm sorry, Pacheco had a couple of snaps as well. I think he had 2 targets. That was what I was encouraged to see, is that a little bit more share in the pass game. I don't know if Pacheco had been targeted like twice all season until that, I want to say. And Sky, like you said, didn't have the greatest outcomes. It was only 1 reception there on the 3 targets, but they're putting it in. The interesting thing for me is that when you break it down and you take a look at the snaps, it's Juju leading it now. MVS right behind him. And they gave Travis a little bit of time off. He was 3rd at 41 snaps. Then followed up a drastic drop-off to McCole at 26, and then Noah Gray at 19. So it really is a 3-headed monster right now. And I think in some ways that's good, because I think having a trio allows Travis to get a little bit lower volume. And I think that's good for not only his season, but his career. But I felt best about Juju yesterday, not because he got good yardage, broke 100 yards. It's the way that he ran through contact, and he actually had some yak that looked like he was his athletic self again. Like, he looked, I won't say 100%, but he looked noticeably bit better to me.
Yeah, I think Juju is showing that he's going to fit in this offense better and better as the season goes on, and I think that that's encouraging. You talk about Travis Kelce only getting 41 snaps, and I think that that's encouraging for this offense. I know that people are going to say, well, you should have your best player on the field more, or your second best player on the field more. I get it, but at the same time, he's 33 years old. You got to give him a little bit of a break, and you got to give him the ability to come off the field, get a little bit of rest, because this is a long season, 17 games plus the playoffs. I mean, we're hoping that they're playing 20, 21 games. And I would imagine that the way that this division is going to be going with the Chiefs this year in the AFC West, I would imagine it's going to go down to the last week. I just can't imagine that they're going to have the ability to skip week 18. So to me, I think you have to get ready as many people as you can. You got to get Noah Gray more involved. You got to get Jody Fortson involved. And we're still waiting to see when Blake Bell can come back. I think the other thing that we need to look at is Willie Gay should be back this week on defense. I think that could be a big help. It sounds like they think that he's going to be back. The question is are they going to bring Trent McDuffie back, who they also activated from IR, and he's on the, his 21-day window to see if he can come back. So, we'll see on that. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. Considering they have a bye right after the 49ers, you kind of wonder, is it possible they sit him? But I do expect Willie Gay back. The other thing I will say real quick, MVS needs to step up. He needs to have a big game. And if it doesn't happen until after the bye, it doesn't happen until after the bye. But he needs to be better than what he was. And he needs to attack the ball because he wasn't attacking the ball on Mahomes' first interception. He fought for it in the end zone, but it was already too late at that point.
Yeah. It's got to be recognition factor a little bit. And kudos to what Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson did for years here in getting to that point. After the catch was more the issue with those guys, but fighting to the ball and making yourself available to the quarterback in a what is a safer way to deliver the ball, that certainly comes in handy. And my problem right now is you've had weeks where we don't see much of Juju, and now a week where we don't see much of NBA. Like they need to be producing week in, week out, at least something. You can't have you can have the spikes, but I need a baseline. We can't have the valleys.
And I think one of the bigger things that the Bills showed yesterday is I think that they played a lot more. They played in a dime format or dime formation a lot more than Kansas City was expecting. I don't think they played in the dime at all the first 5 games, and they went to it almost 12% of the time in this game. What that means is that they're going to be dropping more back into coverage, and I think that's also what kind of hampered Kansas City's offense at times. So they need to be able to figure that out because if the Bills were able to do it, you would have to think the teams are going to try to do that to the Chiefs in the future. And if they can do it, then they're going to be in trouble again, and you don't want to be in that position. I think that Juju has shown he has the ability to make big plays, and I'm very encouraged by that. I hope MVS is able to show up, and I thought the game against the Raiders, I thought he did very well. But then to be basically blanked yesterday, that's pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, again, Chiefs had more rookie snaps played yesterday, but a lot of the Bill snaps were at corner that you would hope you have the ability to go attack at. And Elam's a good player, had him pretty high on my board as well, but there's a lot more to go over. And turning the page, take some hard looks inside. You're going to hear me rail against, to Matt Derrick about some of the things that they need to correct as we look forward to the 49ers. We'll get an update from him tomorrow. Don't miss that show. I know that it's a rough week, but now you get an opponent that is on their rope as well. This has got to be, for Super Bowl rematch, maybe a little bit of nostalgia that can kick this team back into gear. I think that they're going to do it. We're going to talk about it all week. Don't miss a show here as we are 5 days a week for you. Thank you for listening to this one. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell on YouTube and get subbed over on the audio platforms. We'll be back, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.